Welcome! I'm Jade of Jaded Reader, and today I'm doing an original book tag. Now, while my prompts are original and the concept was originally mine, I have to go ahead and pay homage to the fact that having an autumn book tag is not the original concept that I'm working with. There are other autumn book tags and they're all really fantastic. Three of my favorites, and definitely I think three of the most well-known fall book tags, are the Finally Fall book tag, the Cozy Autumn book tag, and the Autumn book tag that's good enough to eat, which is a food and drink based one. They are all so great and such good ideas, and I probably will indeed do them myself this October. So again, having an autumn book tag is nothing new. However, I wasn't able to find an autumn vibes book tag, so that is what mine is called. It is called Autumn Vibes, and it was honestly inspired not necessarily by autumn, but by the booktubers that will be mentioned in this tag. I have a fall favorites video that will be coming out where I just go over some of my favorite things that have fall vibes, and when trying to come up with booktubers, they were so inspiring that they ended up with their own tag, and then I realized I could also apply them to books. So to get into the actual introduction and how this tag works, you can either do the prompts for booktubers or other YouTubers, blog posts or bookstagrammers. You can do them for books themselves, or you can do a mix and match. So if you do not have a book that fits the prompt, you can use a human, or if you can't find a social media influencer to use, then you can go ahead and try and find a book that fits the prompt. The point is to bring in some fall recommendations and some fall vibes and to just have lots of fun, because I had lots of fun making this. I definitely have to give a shout out to all the booktubers I mention in this video, because of course, as it is my own tag, I'm going all out, and I will have both the book recommendations and the booktuber recommendations in this video. Our first prompt is pumpkin patch, and that is to pick a book or booktuber that gets you excited for fall and is tons of fun. For my book recommendation, I have to go with the Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. This takes place during Scorpio season, very October, November, and Maggie Stiefvater is really great at adding creepy atmosphere while still keeping it very whimsical and intriguing, and that's exactly what the Scorpio Races is. So the Scorpio Races follows Puck and Sean, who are both growing up on an island that races flesh-eating horses called Kapellishka. Now, the Kapellishka are by far the creepiest part in this book. There is an intense scene in this that just sent shivers down my spine, while also being tons of fun. These things are being raced, and the stakes are much higher as there is a very large death toll in racing flesh-eating horses. These horses are kind of like sea creature horses, so don't expect a regular horse. They are gruesome, terrible, absolutely fantastic, and I had so much fun reading this book. I felt my adrenaline pumping, I felt the seasonal vibes. It just was perfect, and I highly recommend it for fall. It being a standalone somehow makes it all the better because you can start and finish it and feel completely satisfied. For booktubers, there is only one booktuber that truly is a pumpkin patch to me. Just all of the fun and excitement you feel bottled up in you as you go to pick your pumpkin. Maybe you went to a large pumpkin patch, it's a festival with games and excitement. Maybe it's a cozy small family owned patch where there's small animals to pet and you just have a field of pumpkins and you can pick the one that's special and perfect for you. This person embodies all of those magical moments, and that is of course Lexi from Alexandra Roseland. Lexi was actually one of my very first friends on Booktube. I get warm and fuzzy feelings from her every time I watch her videos. Bias aside, Lexi is amazing, and her channel is one of the most autumnal year round. No matter what season she's celebrating, there's always sparkles of Halloween and fall, and the moment that September hits, Lexi is there for you. She has redecorated her bookshelves, she has done fall tags, she has given you recommendations from middle grade to adult books that will give you all of the fall joy you are looking for. Her excitement for things is honestly intoxicating, and I double dog dare you to try and watch even 10 minutes of one of Lexi's videos without cracking a smile. The next prompt is ghost stories, and that is to pick a book or booktuber that feels like a friend and goes deep on heavy topics. If I'm listening to or reading a ghost story, you better believe I am not alone. I always have a friend, and maybe it's a sleepover, and at sleepovers you end up talking about your dreams, your aspirations, and maybe some deeper, more personal things in your life. And that's really how I build connection, is through those times and experiences together. So for books, I'm going with a dear and close friend of mine, the Scythe series. This is by Neil Shusterman. It has a lot of excellent character and friendship dynamics that make me feel connected to these characters. I was so attached to so many of these characters, and friendship is what really sets a lot of these characters apart in a world filled with the questions of what it means to live and what it means to die. The Arc of the Scythe series follows Citra Terranova and Rowan Damish as they are picked to be scythes in a world without death. When I say without death, I mean unstructured death, unplanned death. All other forms of death have been eradicated, and the human race is doing pretty well. Apart from being cold, detached, and living forever, there are humans that are picked to be scythes, such as Citra and Rowan, who deal out death based off of statistics in order to make sure that the population does not increase past living capacity. There are so many deep conversations in this, and they are dealt with in such an easy to read way that I honestly cannot wait to reread this series so I can pick up all the more conversation and discussion that is woven in. I think that this is a perfect fall read, as it obviously has a somewhat Grim Reaper aspect. I highly recommend it for any season, but most certainly fall. For booktubers that can go deep and feel like friends, I have Kate from Chapter Kate. Kate is such a sweet and beautiful person, and I have adored them and their channel since I came across them years ago. Kate is someone whose perspective and opinion I really respect, and while we don't talk very often, I feel like I could go to them for anything. They would be open and reassuring and tell me what I really need to hear. Now, Kate's channel is exactly just as I described. Kate feels like a friend, and they are very open and honest with being bipolar and their life and how that is affected, as well as their perspective on the world. Kate is also incredibly fun and quirky. You will definitely be having a party if you go to their channel, because there will be dancing, there will be singing, there will be fun outfits and great atmosphere. Kate also is a host for Monsterathon, which is a very, very autumnal readathon. Kate is perfect for the ghost stories, as they are fun, they are creative, but they're also deep and insightful, and you will feel more like you're going to a Monster Mash than you will to a book review. The next prompt is knitted sweaters. To name a book or booktuber that brings you comfort and joy. Once there, you will never want to leave. I feel those cozy sweater vibes coming along. We have had really, really crap weather, which is one of my favorites, and we've also had really hot days. So while I'm not fully in sweater season yet, I am ready, and it's been hard to toss on a sweater and then go back to 80-degree weather. It's challenging for me. I just want to slip inside and be cozy and warm, and those are the exact vibes you're going to get from both Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend, and Mary from Mary Among Stories. Okay, so before we talk about Mary, I would love to bring up Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow. This is my favorite, my most darling series. I absolutely adore everything that Nevermore brings to the table, and honestly, I am just crap at describing it. I have brought it up in several different videos. I have my favorites video that I will go ahead and link up above. So if you'd like to hear me talk about it a bit more, I think I do my best job there, and I'll give you a brief synopsis now of just what brings it all together. I feel the pops of color and magic when I pick up this book. I have reread it so many times that every time I do, it feels like I'm slipping on a sweater. Even the intense moments or the moments that I'm supposed to feel nervous, I also feel comfort and reassurance in knowing not only what's going to happen next, but in how it's going to be done. This follows the girl Morgan Crow, and she is swept away from her dreary life on her 11th birthday because she is labeled a cursed child. It's actually supposed to be the day she dies. Morgan is constantly battling the fact that she has grown up with the label of being a cursed child, and she's constantly wondering if problems are her fault. fault, which is so reminiscent of how a child would feel in a situation where things around them were happening and terrible. Children will often put troubles upon themselves, and you get really in-depth discussions in the Nevermore series about why it's not a child's fault, and so much whimsy and loveliness to go along with it. This magic system is magic packed. You have Magnificats, you have something called the Wondrous Society, filled with wondrous people hosting different knacks or quirks that allow them to get by in this world, whether it be dragon riding, mind reading, or emotional control. You have an assortment of knacks, and some of them are so talent-based that you really could feel like you have a knack yourself. I absolutely just love that. Of course I was going to bring up Nevermore, but I have to also say this feels very seasonally relevant, as Morrigan is trying to get into a wondrous school, and so you have an academic setting which always gives me fall vibes mixed with magic and wonder, which also is very fall. On the topic of Mary among stories, Mary is such a sweet and kind person, and it really radiates from her channel. She's kind of like my favorite fall drink, and that there's a cinnamon spice to her channel in her sense of humor, in her editing style, and I just absolutely adore her. I go to her channel to feel good, to feel creative and inspirational, and you will definitely find that in her vlogs and in her editing style. Her filters are really beautiful. It's just a good feeling going to Mary's channel, which is not a seasonal thing. Mary has these feelings, I feel like, all year round, where there's just a comfort to her that really fits in with fall. And her vlogs are something to be watched and savored, so definitely enjoy those as well. After that, we have the prompt Dark Academia, and that is to pick a book or booktuber that is both romantic and alluring with just a bit of edge. Okay, so I am pretty new to the world of Dark Academia, but when I read about what Dark Academia is, the first thing I thought of was definitely Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This takes place at Yale University, and this has each fraternity having a secret society and a different type of magical power that they specialize in. So our main character comes into play as she can see and speak to ghosts, and after a traumatic situation happens to her, she's offered a position to help keep order between these secret societies in trade for getting to go to Yale University. Alex is a very troubled character, and you honestly find her perspective to be pretty jarring and not dry, but very melancholy. So it definitely comes across as having almost a gray atmosphere when her perspective is being shown, with the alternate perspective being that of Darlington, who is a fairly upbeat and charismatic person, if not also pragmatic. Darlington was definitely my favorite character in this. He gave a little bit more life to this dark academic world, and when a very important character goes missing, it is up to Alex to use the training that Darlington has given her in order to solve the case. There might be more than one case to solve as things start to unravel. While this was not my favorite book of all time, it definitely gave me the feel of Dark Academia, and it definitely intrigued me to read more. I will give content warnings in regard to this book. There is more than one rape in this book, and I felt like the theme overall could have been better dealt with, and I'm hoping it's challenged more in its sequel. However, if you are into Dark Academia, I do recommend this book, as it will give you all of the creepy vibes in a college setting filled with poetry and magic and high societies. But as far as alluring edge goes, Little Wolf is a booktuber I recently subscribed to after joining Gothtober, which is a dark and spooky gothic readathon that is happening this October, and Tish from Little Wolf is honestly just perfect for this prompt. All of the videos I've watched from her so far have a very gothic edge to them. Tish comes off as having a dry sense of humor and very quick-witted, while also being very intelligent and warm. I really have enjoyed her channel so far, and the way she styles her videos just is very alluring and appealing, and so if you like Dark Academia, you'll definitely like Tish, and you should not only check out her channel, but her readathon. Her announcement for it will be linked down below. The next prompt is Corn Mazes. Fun by day, spooky by night, get you a book or booktuber that can do both. For my book, I have to go with The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second Leigh Bardugo recommendation I have for you, because Leigh Bardugo is really good putting a chilling atmosphere inside of a fantastical world. The Language of Thorns is a bunch of short stories bound together into a very, very fantastical read. These felt like old folklore stories. They felt like like something I would listen to by the fire. It's incredibly atmospheric. I can honestly say though, almost more than the stories themselves are the illustrations inside. You start with a small page illustration and they slowly grow throughout the page and you get a beautiful depiction of something happening in the story. I absolutely love that that was an added addition to it. Oh, this book is tons of fun. Ooh, is it kind of freaking creepy by night. I had so many moments that were bone chilling because I was reading this by moonlight versus by day, and I found myself picking this up more on my train rides to school than by lamplight in the evenings, because some of these moments really kick up a notch in suspense and chill factor when reading this at night. So it felt perfect for corn mazes, as corn mazes are freaking creepy for me night or day, but especially by night. You might be thinking, what booktuber am I going to pick that is lots of fun but also spooky? I have to tell you, Crystal Visions is the booktuber for me that immediately came to mind. So Crystal from Crystal Visions is a booktuber who is so enthralled in the horror genre. If I'm ever asked for like dark horror recommendations, I just send them her way. I'm not very involved in that genre, so I always go to Crystal Visions and I always send people her way. Wow, that girl likes Stephen King. Every time I see one of her thumbnails, it's always like horror based. And I'm like, girl, it's spring. I absolutely adore Crystal. She's also just a really sweet and kind person. You would not immediately assume that Crystal loves blood and gore and a lot of suspense, but listen to one of her fantastic reviews and you will know exactly how spooky this girl is. And it's only made more wonderful by the juxtaposition of how fun and sweet she is as a person. Yes, Crystal Visions 100% is a corn maze. Super fun, but wow, can she get spooky. Second to last is Victorian Flare, and that is to name a both classic and regal book or booktuber with a quirky flair. Now, I don't read very many classics. There are tons that I'm sure come to mind for you, possibly Rebecca or Wuthering Heights, something within that realm. I haven't really read those. I'm sorry. I would like to get better with classics, but I can say that classics aren't my first go-to. So for this, I actually thought of a classic remix, and that is Pride by E.B. Zoboy. I really enjoyed Pride, and as I mentioned before, it is a Pride and Prejudice remix. I absolutely love the topics that were covered in Pride, and it follows our main character Zuri, who has an incredible amount of pride both in her neighborhood, her culture being Afro-Latinx, and unfortunately, as her neighborhood in Brooklyn slowly becomes more and more gentrified, she also is trying to put a stop to it, only to have the rich Darcy family move in across the street, and she has to make kind with the neighbors. This is definitely a hate to love romance, but I really liked all the other aspects that were in this. The romance itself was not the most believable or interesting aspect to me. It was definitely the conversations and the culture that was spun together into a really fascinating retelling. There are also hard conversations having to do with privacy and how women are treated on the internet. There's just a lot to it, so I highly recommend this, and it being a retelling gives it a quirky vibe where you get a little bit of classic in new wrappings. For booktubers, it is Seiji the Artesian Geek. Okay, Seiji is such a fantastic booktuber for so many different reasons. You can catch her rollerblading as well as reviewing, and she has such a regal flair about her. From the way she dresses to the way she presents herself and her looks at classic literature, I go to her to find more classic recommendations as well as get really insightful, in-depth reviews. She just does a little bit of everything and she does it really well. I would definitely check Seiji out for just about any topic under the sun. She has a fantastic Black Classics recommendation video. I believe that there are 2 of them. She has fun videos and vlogs. She really gets into some of her singular reviews, so you're not just going to get a dry 5 minutes of explaining a book. You're gonna get a good time. I definitely recommend Seiji. She's also just perfect for Victorian Flare, and I hope you go ahead and check her out if you haven't already. My last and final prompt also happens to be the very start of the autumn season, and that is Mabon. You may also know it as fall or autumnal equinox. It's the point where both day and night equal out, and for the Mabon prompt, I'd like you to find a book or booktuber with witchy vibes, an abundance of nature, nature, the sweetness of spring, and the coziness of fall. For books, I am going with Juniper. This is actually a prequel to Wise Child, which is the first in the series. However, I really do enjoy reading them in chronological order versus in publication order, as I find Juniper really leads you into what this world is about and gives you just a backstory and history of Juniper herself. I think it lends more importance to her character and the dynamic she has in the book Wise Child. Juniper is a Cornish princess who grows up finding that she has the powers and abilities of a witch. So she is sent off to live with an old woman who is also a witch, who teaches her the craft and to be a little less of a, we'll go with spoiled princess. So while Juniper is in training, she loses touch with her cousin and friend, who ends up being kidnapped and taken to live with his mother, who is now in charge of a neighboring kingdom. There is a lot of emotional manipulation and control that is in this book, and you get a really strong friendship dynamic without romance, though I will say there's an interlude to romance for future reading. I really loved this series growing up. It honestly was one of my first depictions of witchcraft outside of the paranormal, and growing up with witchcraft, it meant the absolute world to me. It's a beautiful story, an instant classic in my eyes, and I think that you'll have lots of fun with it. It's both cozy and warm and magical, with both the naivete of spring and the transition of fall. You really can't go wrong with Juniper. The same way you absolutely cannot go wrong with Leah from Where in the World is Leah Jane. Leah is one of the kindest, sweetest, down-to-earth human beings I have ever come across. I am so honored to call her my friend. Leah to me brings in all of the witchy natural vibes. She's constantly surrounded by nature, by plants, and finding inspiration out in the world. She has thought-compelling conversations. She speaks about books as if they are sentient beings, and I just honestly can never get enough of her channel or her thoughts and ideas that she exudes from them. Leah has Dear Traveler videos where she's outside and walking around, and she speaks to you like you're a dear friend. She speaks to you like she wants to hear what you have to say. I just absolutely adore her channel. She 100% for me embodies the Mabon vibes that I had in my head when creating this tag, because she was part of the reason I created this tag, and I really hope you check out her channel because she is so underappreciated for the work and wonder that she puts into her videos. I hope you enjoyed all of these books and Booktuber recommendations. I will be leaving a list of tagged individuals down below, and I'm really just looking forward to hearing everyone's fall recommendations and continuing the autumn vibes. Regardless of if you do this tag or not, I hope you are enjoying the sun or more stars wherever you are, and until next time, bye! I just saw my partner grab a ladder and walk off. Okay, that's fine. Bless you!
Thank you.
Oh, God. She's graceful. Is it Rosalind or Rosalind? She's one of my dearest friends. Why don't I know her name?
Hello, spooky friends. My name is Lexi. Welcome back to my channel.
Lexi,
And today,
say your name.
Friends, my name is Lexi, and welcome back to my channel.
What is your channel?
Hi, internet friends, and welcome back to my channel.
I'll have to do 2 takes. Bum, 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 bum. This takes place, Harvard? Is it Harvard? I feel like it's Harvard. All the same to me. I didn't go to them. So the Scythe series, different frat house or I feel like frat house, isn't it? Can you tell I went to a state university? Wow, I am distracted by that cover. I did it again. Wasn't thinking of Language of Thorns. I was thinking of this one. This freaking one. I ended up reading this erotica on a treadmill because I thought it was a totally different book. Ugh, and it wasn't even this book. This is just another book that sounds like it. Thorns. I hate them.